Lesson 14, I will solve division word problems with remainders. All right, so let's take a look at our very first word problem or application problem. You'll notice that the directions say, use the RDW process to solve the following products. So we're still going to read, we're still going to draw, and we're still going to write. So let's begin by reading this problem. There are 19 identical socks. How many pairs of socks are there? Will there be any socks without a match? If so, how many? All right, so we already read the problem. Now we're ready to draw something. So I'm going to begin by drawing a tape diagram. So I know that my total is 19. So I can go ahead and label my total 19. Now it says that it wants to know how many pairs of socks. Well, I know that a pair of socks has two. So what does that tell me? Does the pair tell me the number in each group or number of groups? Well, if there's a pair, that's telling me the number in each group because I know that there's two in each group, but I don't know how many groups there are. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. So my question mark would be, how many groups are there, okay? So I could put my question mark here, but it kind of looks like I'm trying to figure out what this area is, but I'm not. I'm trying to figure out how many groups there are, okay? So the way that we can figure this out is we can count by twos, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and erase this question mark because I don't want it to appear that I'm trying to figure out what the difference is between 2 and 19. All right, so this would be 2, and then if I add another 2, that would be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, I'm running out of room, 16, and then 18, but I can't do one more group of twos because that would be 20. So I'm going to go ahead and shade this, and I'm going to label this remainder of 1 because I have 1 left over. All right, so how many pairs did I have? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 9 pairs. And that makes sense because 19 divided by 2 would be equal to 9, remainder 1, because 9 times 2 is 18, and then you would have 1 more would make 19. All right, so we drew a tape diagram, I wrote a number sentence. Now I have to answer the questions. How many pairs of socks are there? So I would say there are 9 pairs of socks. Then it asks, will there be any socks without a match? If so, how many? So I'm going to go ahead and add to this sentence. There are 9 pairs of socks with 1 sock without a match. So let's see if I answered all those questions. How many pairs of socks are there? Okay, I said 9 pairs. Will there be any socks without a match? And I said there will be 1. So when it said if so, how many, I answered that question too. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at problem number 2. If it takes 8 inches of ribbon to make a bow, how many bows can be made from 3 feet of ribbon if 1 foot equals 12 inches? Will any ribbon be left over? If so, how much? All right, so we read the problem now. You'll notice that most of the time when we read the problem, we have to go back and read it again whenever we get ready to draw. So let's think about what's happening here, okay? So we know the total feet of ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and draw this, but I don't want to put my total in feet because I'm making my bows in inches. So I know I have 3 feet, so that would be 12 inches plus 12 inches plus 12 inches. So I know that this is 1, 2, 3 tens and 2, 4, 6 ones. So 3 feet is equal to 36 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 36 inches instead of 3 feet. Now I know that it takes 8 inches to make a bow. So is this telling me the number in each group or the number of groups? Well, if I know it takes 8 inches to make a bow, and I'm trying to figure out how many bows I can make, Again, I'm trying to figure out the number of groups. I know that it takes 8 inches are going to be in each group. So it's going to be very similar to last time. I'm going to have to figure out how many 8s there are so that I can figure out how many bows that can be made. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I'd like for you to continue to add on 8s until you get to 36. So you're going to be counting by 8s until you get to 36. Let's see if we get the same answer. Okay, so I started with 8, and then I knew another 8 would be 16, another 8 would be 24, another 8 would be 32. So that only gives me 4 more because another 8 would be 40. So the 4 that was left over became my remainder. Okay, so the question asks how many bows can be made from 3 feet of ribbon. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 bows can be made with 3 feet of ribbon. And then the second question says, will any ribbon be left over? How much? So I'm going to go ahead and add to this with 4 inches, remember these are inches, left over. I think these are kind of fun. I hope you do too. All right, so let's take a look at number 3. All right, so we're going to begin by reading. The library has 27 chairs and 5 tables. If the same number of chairs is placed at each table, how many chairs can be placed at each table? Will there be any extra chairs? If so, how many? All right, so again, we know the total. We've got 27 chairs. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my tape diagram, and I know that there are 27 chairs. So this time, it tells me that there are 5 tables, and it wants to know how many chairs can go at each table. So this time, I actually do know the number of groups. There are 5 groups. I'm going to go ahead and divide this into 5 parts. It's a little different because I know that there are 5 groups. I'm just trying to figure out how much is in each group this time. How many chairs can be placed at each table? Will there be any chairs? If so, how many? So there are a couple of ways to do this. First of all, if you are pretty fluent in division, you can ask yourself, what is 27 divided by 5? Or how many groups of 5 can you get out of 27? Or you could also make an array, right? You could come through here, and even though this is a tape diagram, we can kind of use it to make an array by using some tally marks. Like we could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now, I only have 2 more, and I can't go back and put another one in each group, so I'm going to add a little box right here, and this is going to be my remainder. So I used 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, so that gives me a remainder of 2. And that is correct because 27 divided by 5 does equal 5 with a remainder of 2, because 5 5s is 25 plus 2 more makes 27. So let's go back. We already drew our number sentence. Let's go back, or excuse me, we already drew our diagram. Let's go back and write our number sentence. I'm getting ahead of myself. How many chairs can be placed at each table? So if we only have 27 chairs and we have 5 tables, that means that 5 chairs can be placed at each table. And it says, will there be any extra chairs? If so, how many? So 5 chairs can be placed at each table, not tables, at each table with 2 extra chairs. Okay, on to question 4. The baker has 42 kilograms of flour. She uses 8 kilograms each day. After how many days will she need to buy more flour? All right, so we read the problem. Now we're going to draw our tape diagram. So let's take a look. We know the total. Every time today we've known the total. And again, we know that she has 42 kilograms of flour. Now we know that she uses 8 kilograms each day. We want to know how many days. So again, is this 8 kilograms each day? Does this tell us the number of groups or the number in each group? Well, this tells us the number in each group. We know that she's going to have 8 in each group or in each day, and we're trying to figure out how many days. So again, I'm trying to figure out how many 8s I can get out of 42, and that will tell me how many days she will have before she needs to buy more flour. I'd like for you to go ahead and solve this again. You're counting by 8s again, and I want you to see how many 8s you can get out of 42. Okay, so hopefully you try to figure out how many 8s you can get out of 42. So we started out with 1 8, and then another 8 would be 16, and then another 8 would make 24, 32, and then 40. Now I don't have enough to make another 8, so I ended up with a remainder of 2. So every 8 represents one day that she will have enough flour. So after how many days will she need to buy flour? So after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, she needs to buy more flour. So our number sentence would look like this: 42 divided by 8. And how many 8s did we have? We had 5, and we had a remainder of 2. So now I'm ready to write my word sentence. So I'm going to say, she will need to buy more flour after 5 days. All right, let's move on to question number 5. Caleb has 76 apples. He wants to bake as many pies as he can. If it takes 8 apples to make each pie, how many apples will he use? How many apples will not be used? I'd like for you to try to do this problem all by yourself. If you get stuck, then you can always press play, but I want you to try to at least draw the diagram, and if you get a little nervous, you're not sure if your diagram's correct, you can come back and watch that part, but I want you to solve as much of this problem as you can all by yourself. Okay, so hopefully you drew your tape diagram. So we knew that there were 76 apples, and we had 8 apples each pie. So this was how much was in each group. So I was trying to figure out how many 8s I could get out of 76. So when I started counting, I had 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72. So I finally ended up right here, I ran out of apples. So then that ended up being my remainder of 4 apples. So I went ahead and wrote my division sentence. 76 divided by 8 equals 9, because I had 9 8s. And I know that 8 times 9 is 72, so that left a remainder of 4. Now here's where they try to trick you. So let's see if they tricked you or if you figured this out. It doesn't ask how many pies can she make. It asks how many apples will she use. So this is how many apples she used. She used 9 8s, which is 72 apples. So I put he, it's a he, sorry. He will use 72 apples. How many apples will not be used? So he had 4 left over that were not used. So this part was a little bit tricky. I had to read that a couple times because I was like, am I trying to figure out how many pies? And then I realized no, it didn't want to know how many pies. It wanted to know how many apples would he use. All right, last problem. All right, 45 people are going to the beach. 7 people can ride in each van. How many vans will be required to get everyone to the beach? All right, so I'd like for you to try to solve this problem all by yourself, just like you did the last one. Again, if you get stuck, you can always come back and check along with me and see how you're doing. Okay, so I knew that there were a total of 45 people. So when I drew my tape diagram, I went ahead and labeled the top 45 people. So when I know 7 people can ride in each van, that tells me how many how many per group. I know that I have 7 in each group, and I'm trying to figure out how many groups. So I went ahead and divided my box into as many 7s as I could. So I counted 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, and I knew that I only had 3 left over, so that was my remainder of 3. So I went ahead and wrote my number sentence. 45 divided by 7 would equal 6, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7s in 45, and I had a remainder of 3. Now here's where they try to trick you again. How many vans will be required to get everyone to the beach? Well, there's no such thing as 6 remainder 3 vans. And if we only took 6 vans to the beach, these 3 people wouldn't be able to go to the beach. And it says everyone has to go to the beach. So we're actually going to need 7 vans. 7 vans will be required to get everyone to the beach. Just that very last van won't be full. It'll only have 3 people on it instead of 7. So today we solved some division problems with remainders. I hope that you're starting to understand how to draw a tape diagram to show division.